All right, let's go into episode 2 of assimilating Python from zero. The idea here is that I'm going to take my time. I'm not in a huge hurry, and I'm going to just leisurely go through pretty much all of Python and going to really with an eye for beginners, so that you can learn this material in the future. One thing I'll point out is that I'm keeping track of all this in GitHub, and I'm also putting this inside of the O'Reilly platform as well. And so what I will do is start off with sharing my screen here. So I've got this assimilate Python from zero. In fact, I'm going to shift it a little bit so it's just full code, so I have more room. One thing I'll point out though is on O'Reilly, if you have access to the platform, obviously you can watch the live stream as well, but there is actually a course here where I'm just putting each of the lessons inside. So if you want to go back and look at different topics, for example, you can see we've got statements with Colab. Where do you run your code at the beginning? Like Python functions, simple to complex. So just keep putting lessons inside of here for that eventually we'll get to 20 hours, 40 hours, 60 hours of work. So we're on episode 2 now, or day 2. So I'm going to go ahead and put day 2 here. I think a good thing to dive into a little bit more detail is strings. And so let's just kind of go through strings today and talk about those. And so what I will do is I will do two things. One, I'll launch a code space. So we'll go ahead here and go to code, launch this, and launch this code space. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Colab, and I'm going to make a new notebook, and I'm going to call this one assimilate Python v2, assimilate Python v2 strings. And we're just going to knock out strings here, and I'll check in the results as we go through. So I'll put the text up here and say, Python strings. So let's just kind of go through what are the things you can do with a string and the different styles. So I guess to start out with, the one I like the best is F strings. So we'll tackle F strings, and I think this is probably the way to go. And typically, the reason you would use them would be if you had a bunch of variables. And so, for example, we would say apple is equal to apple. Let's say pear is equal to pear. And I don't know, strawberry is equal to strawberry, like that. And then if I wanted to print these things out, all I would need to do is make a print statement with the F at the beginning, and then just put in these are fun to eat, and then put in apple, pear, and strawberry. There you go. What else can you do with an F string that's kind of cool is, I think this would be where you would do like scientific calculations as well. So if I wanted to build out, let's just do here like scientific calculations. What would I do? Well, I could say calculation is equal to x plus y. There you go. Now we don't have x defined yet or y defined yet. So what we can do, we can say, put this into a function, right? And we can say in fact, calculate, and just allow an X and a Y. And we say result like this, and then we will return back the results. And now what I can do is I do a print statement like doing homework or something. I would go through and I would say the results of, and I could put in fact, the values inside of the results of my calculation are, I believe that you can do this. Let's check this out. So Python f strings. Let's take a look if we can do this. F strings. Let's look at the documentation and let's see value, no globals, specification, quoted strings, code equivalents. I'm trying to see here if I can actually put like something inside. So if I want to call a function to do it, well, let's make it simple to start with, which is that we can say this. We can say results equal to calculate and put in 2 and 2, and then we say result here. That's kind of the easiest thing to do. So the idea here is that you can build out scientific notation or problems and then print them out. Well, what else can we do with F strings? I think we should look at the official docs here. And let's take a look at 10.6. That's pretty good. And so fancier formatting, what can we do with F strings? And to format string literals, you could do this, right? So this is kind of what we just did. And if you want to do something more fancy, you could actually convert something to a percentage. So the string format requires more manual effort. I see. Dot format. Yes, percentage. So here's some examples. Looking through the string format. That's definitely more work. So I guess we could try that. We could put the string format method here and just try this, but like make our own version of it. So what if we want to do string format? So we'll put another section here and just do, I think we want to do that, right? Go, yeah, three string formatting, string format. And if we do this, we're the ones who say, let's change this to our own stuff. Like, I love to, and we'll put eat the following. And we'll just say, we'll swap this out for apple because I have that variable defined above. I love to eat. Love to eat apple. I love to eat an apple. There you go. Love to eat an apple. So, I mean, this is okay as well. I personally like this. I think it's really, really the way to go. What else do we care about? I guess really the fanciest is this, right? Is the F string is definitely the way to go. and it allows us to do, really cool stuff. What else do we care about with strings here? I think that's really it in terms of the main takeaways. I think one other thing to mention would be the different quoting. And so if I go through here and I just say string quoting, this is something probably to bring up, is that we have the single quote. So we'll call the single, right? And you can do this. You can say apple, and then you can also do double, right? And this would be apple. And you can also do triple, right? So there's 3 styles here with Python. Apple. And if I print out all 3, they come out the same. Okay, so if I say print 3 styles of quoting, I do single, and then I do double, and then I do triple, they're all the same. There you go. Apple, 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 right? There's no difference. So why would you use one or the other? I mean, the main reason to use one versus the other is that if you needed to go through and actually make a phrase, this is where the triple quote comes in. You can go like this. You can say, this is very, very long. I made it long so I could show how to use quotes. This is the use case that you can just take a long phrase and put it together. So this happens a lot with like, data science stuff, right? Like you're doing NLP or whatever, you put a triple quote in so you get access to it. So that's, string quoting, strings in a nutshell. Now, the methods on strings might be worth going into a little bit. And so we can do that next. We can say like fun string methods. And what we can do is we have an easy way to do it is to look at put a string, like, so you can tell if something's a string by going here, right? Type is that a string by itself will come with the methods. You can say dot in an environment that does code completion, and it will show you things. So if we say capitalize, let's take a look at this. This one might not be a good one to do this on. Let's do apple capitalize. Let's there you go. Right. So it just capitalizes the first letter of a string. Let's just try new stuff. Say apple, and we can even just go through all of the things that are available. We can say case fold. All right. And we can look at the question mark if you want as well. Return a version of the string suitable for caseless comparison. Okay. So this just, I think, makes everything lowercase. So if for example, the string, and we put another one above here, and we said big apple, right, or something like this. Let's do big apple. Big apple. We said big apple like that, and then I typed in big apple dot casefold. It would go through, and it would just make them all lowercase. So this is good for NLP, right? If I wanted to go through and write a function that like cleaned up a bunch of stuff and made it lowercase. So this is definitely the way to learn strings, is you just do the dot, go through and play around with stuff here, like counts, right? If I want to count the number of characters, I think in this case, I don't need a function maybe. No. I'm not sure why the count doesn't, let's look at it. returns the number of oh, I see. Occasional. So in this case, it doesn't really apply to use it here. I think you could do this, like you could do apple. It's kind of goofy here to play around with this that way, but we can just keep playing around, and we can say in with, right? So is another one we could find. So if we said we could look for ends with, we could do a find, we could do a format, we could say is let's see here, is alpha, right? So if we do a question mark here, it should say returns if the string is an alphabetic string, false otherwise. So if we say yes, it's true, right? I said number, right? And I said number dot is alpha. We would say oh, I see. We would say let's try that. False. Return string is an alphabetic string. So in this case, it would say false because there's a number inside. So that's actually a pretty powerful built-in method for us. So you can see there's these like incredibly powerful methods that are built into Python strings that if you don't know the language, it'd be tempting to just re-implement all this stuff yourself. I think another one that's kind of fun is like I think we have a swap case would be good. This is kind of a fun one. So in this case, if you remember, Apple was lowercase, but every time I run it, it'll just change it. So if I said apple dot swap case, and we said new apple, and I said new apple. Now if I want to say new apple dot swap case, there you go. We can go either direction by swapping spaces. So that's probably, I think, enough for strings, right? That's probably a good summary of the important things to know about for strings. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this into GitHub. And this is always a good place to keep track of things, is especially for like core lessons of the language. I think Colab is an ideal environment for this. And so each time I do a lesson, I'll go through here and I'll put these in, and should be assimilate Python from 0. Check it in. All right. So that's it for this week. And next week, I'll pick another low-level topic and we'll go from there. See you next week.